How do I even start? Okay, so this is again what we're trying to do here. So this is where I would, if I splice this up into a YouTube video, so we would start saying we are doing a learning Pax Renaissance, sort of. But I have played a couple of games on it. Hey, Cobear. And so it's Steve and myself. Hi, Steve.
Hey there.
As per usual, it's usually us, right? Usually us. Sometimes Brian's in the mix. Every now and then
The
another friend of
usual
mine.
suspects.
Yeah, every now and then another friend of mine will like be randomly pulled in. I think we pulled in Mike when we played 18xx, which
That
I
was
have
fun.
now. I've now moved on to 1849, the Railways of Sicily. Which boy oh boy
Mm.
does that the game get way more ferocious when you're not playing the friendly intro versions of it. As in like dumping companies, overtakes, like just it's so mean. It's
Wow.
so it gets so mean. Suppose we're all building up to playing 1817, which I think is the big daddy of that genre. But eventually we'll get this. John's like, this screen is making me anxious.
To be fair, same, big same. There's a lot going on the
So
screen,
there's a
right?
lot
Because there's
going
a lot
on.
going on in the game. And to before, I don't know when you're going to splice this. You did say,
No, no,
and I
we're
meant to
already on.
confirm
We're
it.
live.
4.6. We're
Yeah,
we're live. We're
we're
doing it
live.
live.
We're doing
This
this.
is 4.63 weight
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
on Board Game Geek. So yeah, it's. I initially I was like, is it really that? But I think I keep thinking of PAX Premiere, which is a much more streamlined version
Yeah,
of this game.
much more.
Much more streamlined
Yeah.
version. So
Well, but PAX Premiere, because it's so deeply political, you cannot play it. Uh, you can't play it with two. I mean, you can, but you have to throw in a bot because you need like a disruption. This game actually
yes,
works as a two-player game.
right.
As a
There's enough
yeah,
levers to
there's
pull.
enough. Yeah, and it definitely feels like you're playing. I mean, it even has chess pieces, right? You're definitely trying to maneuver yourself into a situation where you have enough weight, like enough board presence to win. Which I feel I love PAX Pamir. I love it, but PAX Pamir is such a tactical game. Like everything swings. You don't really have like permanent board state that matters. I mean, you do, but it also resets after like a clash or whatever it's called. Here, your weight just keeps on moving on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, John, you just answered John's question, right? So yeah, users, it's a user vote, John, right? A user's like, I think this is a, and it's an integer, right? 1 through 5. One is like
Right.
ultra lightweight. 5 is like the heaviest game you've ever played, and so people just vote on it. So you can look at the weight rating, and that's just like the average of everyone who said it's a 4 or it's a 5. So more people think it's a 5, right? But yeah, so this game is basically trying to model the Renaissance, right? And it's the interesting aspect about it, I find, and I've never played Here I Stand, but if you've ever heard of Here I Stand is a six-player game around this era that people love, and people who love that game and Twilight Imperium often love Here I Stand more than Twilight Imperium, right? Which is kind of nuts to me. But I've never played it, so I reserve. Yeah, I can't judge it. What I can say is this does something similar supposedly, and it does it in a much smaller footprint, even though it's such a heavy game. Like you really get that. What board game would be like a one weight? I don't know. Yeah, tic tac toe is a 1.2. That's hilarious. Okay. But anyway, so in this game, what we're doing is we are. So let's scroll down. There's a market. If you've ever seen a PAX game, this will be self-explanatory almost. But we are playing as Renaissance bankers, right? So again, similar to the other PAX games, we are not. The three main factions here are Catholics, Protestants, and Islam, like the three religions, the three prevalent religions, and they're color coded, right? So the gold is Catholic, the green is Islam, and the red is Protestant. But we don't own them per se. We're just like levers. We're banking. We're banking and trying to win on multiple different win conditions that are not even active in the beginning. So
Yeah.
so giving a full teach of this before playing it, I think, is just a fool's errand, right? Because what the hell, right? The main things to note are while this looks like a board game, the actual original version is just cards because these 10 regions, right? There's 6 in the west. There's these white areas: England, France, Holy Roman Empire, Papal States, Aragon, and Portugal. And then there's 4 in the east: Hungary, Byzantium, Mamluk, and Ottoman. And so those are just cards, they're just cards you put on the table, and then you put chess pieces on them. So the only pieces are the chess pieces, but there's no real board per se. There is in the version now, but you don't need it strictly, right? So there are different units, right? Knights are fighting units, rooks are defensive units, and then there are these pawns. Now the pawns do belong to us, right?
Yes.
We both start with one, and up here in the upper right of this BGA implementation, which is in beta, but it's ultra robust. We each have one, and you'll see as I hover over them, these are concessions. They can be a victory condition, but for the most part, what they do is it's a way to get money if you run a trade fair, right? And a trade fair, all your pawns belong to us. Indeed. In a trade fair, that's one of the many ways to get money in this game. But money is actually, again, surprisingly tight, as it also is in Pax Pamir, right? So you have this main board. Each of these 10 regions has a king, right? And right now they're all on their throne. But trust me, you can when you pull these levers in the game, you're not dethroning them, but you now own them. Right? Some of them can become vassals through campaigns and stuff like that. So you can already see how this is. It's there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
The main argument being made here by everyone's beloved Phil Eklund, whose footnotes in the rules are unreadable. Like, and I didn't even try. A couple of people, friends of mine, started reading them. They were like, "Dude, who's this guy?" I'm like, "Do yourself a favor. Same as YouTube comments. Stop now."
Yeah.
While you're ahead of the game, stop reading this drivel. It's very grandstandy.
The only way to win
right?
is not to play.
Is not to play. Like here's the thing. The game. I think this game is amazing. Amazing. I mean, you heard me. We chatted about this. I think I like it more than Pax Pamir, which is nuts, right?
Yeah.
So because it's so rich and so like it has both strategy and tactics, and I feel Pax Pamir leans much more heavy on the tactics side, which doesn't make it a lesser game. It's just that I like something that feels more like chess. So that's where I'm coming from with this.
Right. There's a different density, right? Like,
yes. You can gather up so much momentum that you win in this game, which I feel is a thing that is much harder to pull off in Pax Pamir, for better or worse, right?
Right.
So in this game, technically there are 5 win conditions. If all the decks run out, then whoever has the most patron prestige. So the resources are mainly what's your prestige in the different 3 religions. Then there's a thing called patron, law, and discovery prestige, which are mostly icons on cards that you play to your tableau. So it's still a tableau builder. And then down here you have number of kings or number of republics. And so kings are things that you can get by, running campaigns or crusades and whatnot. And then they go to your tableau, which means they're under your belt. But you can also do strawman attacks against the kings that are under your belt to form a regime change, in which case it flips on the other side, and now you have a republic. And the thing I'll say immediately about the republics, I've won in every possible way in this game except for the Renaissance victory. And I think again, knowing a little bit about how that libertarian nutcase's brain works, I think he's trying to make the argument that the Renaissance was the least likely outcome, right? Or something like that,
yeah.
Right? I feel like that's something he's trying to say, because finding these law prestige icons, well, there's one there right now. Actually, there's 2. Wow. I've never seen 2 of these out on the board at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
I was already beelining, because while you were talking, I was like trying to assess what my first turn would be, and I was like, oh wow, both of those are there, really? Yeah. Because they were very. I mean, I can only speak from the one game that we played, but they were very hard to come by.
They're so hard to come by. So you could already bank on that by buying both of them. But like, I'll still explain a little. I'll give a little bit of context. The 4 ways to win are the Renaissance victory, which are have more republics. Which again, anytime someone's like, who's in the lead, we can always look at this upper right player area and also these religions, which kind of tells you what's the current dominant religion, which means it has to have more bishops and more of its pieces in theocracies. What are theocracies? Those are cards that have the religious symbol on them. And right now, the Papal States is a Catholic theocracy, and the Mamluk states are an Islam theocracy. There are no other theocracies. The way you turn a thing into a theocracy is by having a successful holy war, right? So you have either two or more law tokens in the opponent and more republics. If you have that, and this is flipped, and I'll explain that in a second how you flip it, then you can declare victory and you win the game. The Galley Age or Globalization Victory, which I think is the one I've had the most, is have two or more concessions than everyone else and more discovery prestige. Age of Feudalism is just straight up have two or more kings. Careful, in a two-player game, you need to have three or more kings. Easily overlooked. So right now, none of us have any kings, right?
Right.
But that's a thing that kind of can snowball, because once you have a king, you can start using the campaign operation to like get more kings.
Yes.
So Cobert's is like speaking. I wish I understood what you're writing.
Está en la biblioteca. I have 3 years of high school Spanish, but I'm out on this.
I live in LA, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I speak no Spanish after 6 years. But our kid is maybe going into a Spanish immersion school, so hey, I might catch up on it. The last one here of the decks ran out victory is the East-West Schism, which is the holy victory. And to win that, you just have to have more prestige in the supreme religion, which has to be more bishops of its color and more token of its color on theocracies, which you can see in this area here on the right of the board. So those are the 4 ways to win. How do you get to those? Mostly by playing cards, by buying cards and playing cards. How do you buy cards? Each of us starts with a number of florins. I start with 4 because I go second. Ozzy starts with 3. And when you buy a card, and this is a Pax mechanic thing, right? Yes. Normally you don't have this card on the far left. If anyone right now wanted to buy this card here, Syndicate Rementia, then you'd have to put 1 florin on the west, and then you could take the card. So you have to put a coin down on all the cards that come before it. And you'll notice, again, unlike other Paxes I've played, there's a west row and an east row, right? Yes. So you always have enough of these cards out, and they have a region, they have icons, and anything that's in an oval, those are Tableau ops. So once that card's in your Tableau, you can do either east or west Tableau, and then you can do 1 action per card. And the actions, there's a lot to go over, and I'm not going to do it now, because here they all are, right? There's actually there's an amazing player aid up here. If you hit info, you have the battle table, the operations, all the one-shots, and the map cards, and what happens if they flip into different theocracies. But here's operations, right? And we'll go over those later when we have them in the board. But like one of them is obviously the campaign operation, which is also a conflict. And then there's these one-shots on the cards that can be conflicts, but also a number of other things. And I think those are the kinds of things that we explain as we go along.
Right. We play them as we play them as they lay. We'll talk about them when we get there.
Right. So the last thing I'll explain before we start is those are the ops, and at the bottom, almost every card, but not every card, as you can see here in Michelangelo, has this like scroll with a very small bomb icon in the upper left. Those are one shots. When you play the card to your tableau, you can trigger the one shot. You can also not trigger the one shot and just get the items or the agents as they're called. But the one shot very often is something that's like either a holy war or some other thing. And those are like here. Either you have trade shifts, which changes how the trade fair works, which we'll explain in a second, or you have things like peasant revolt or conspiracy, which are battles. Then you have the three different holy wars, crusade, jihad, and reformation. These differ in who the attackers and defenders are, and I always have to look it up. And then you have these apostasies, which, Steve, you definitely felt the pain of that in our first game. So if you ever have cards of, when this triggers and you have cards of both of the shown religions, they all leave. Right? So it's basically punishing you for being a heretic.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. No,
or inviting heretics in. And the coronation is super simple. If you have a coronation, you get married to a king who's a suitor who's not already in someone else's tableau. sorry, who's not already married. They can be in someone else's tableau. You can marry them away, but they can't be married because religion, right? because this is the Middle Ages. But yeah, so those are the one shots. And so what's happening here right now is these both have the law symbol. So I'm sure that Steve is considering what's a tableau. So a tableau is our play area. Let's just call it our play area, right? Oh, and the biggest thing I just forgot to mention is you have 2 actions on your turn, right? And they're on your player card. The player cards have no asymmetry other than where their starting concession is, right? And when you play a card to your tableau, you either play it to the left, which are the west cards, or to the east, which are the right side of the card. And it depends on the color of the banner, whether it's white or black, right? And I think the last thing I haven't explained is the trade fair, but we'll get to the trade fair when we have to. You can always purchase a card or play a card or sell a card, and you can do that twice in a turn, right? So Ozzy right now can just straight up buy 2 cards.
Yes.
Then there's the tableau ops, east or west, the trade fair, east or west, and declaring victory. Those you can only do once per turn. So you can't do tableau ops, east and then west. You can only do one. Right. Although there's always going to be cards that have these little banners. And this one says, for example, your concessions cannot be killed by pirates. Or your concessions count 2x during trade fairs and votes. So you have these things that, of course, like dislodge the core rules. So your hand size, upper limit, hard limit is 2. If you have 2 cards, you literally cannot buy a card because it's not like discard at the end of the turn or something like that.
Right.
So like go ahead. That's my cursory, super fast 10-minute. Now you can play.
Yeah. Weirdly, like coming into this game from PAX Premier, like I had to reorient my thinking around the cards, almost in thinking of them in Magic the Gathering terms.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where it's like you play the one shots are your ETB triggers. When this card enters the battlefield, this happens.
Right.
And then your ops on the tableaus are activated effects. I tap this card to do this.
Right.
And maybe each card has different effects.
Exactly.
And so yeah, like the tableaus that you're building, and this to like Brokewain's question, it's like it's sort of the engine or like your own little army that you're building. And there are particular requirements on where these cards can be placed based on where you buy them off of the market. The West, if you buy a card off the West, you play it in the West part of your tableau. That's flattened out in PAX Premier where you just have a tableau. There's a little bit of finagling there where, okay, maybe I put them in certain orders to avoid spies and to do different movements there. There's a lot more going on with this in terms of, okay, West versus East, what actions you have on each card with which set of ops you have, because you can only play one ops. And also each of the cards is associated with a region on the board as well, right? So like, to move with what we've got here, I will go ahead and take that Syndicate Remenka. I can't pronounce that, but it
sounds too good to not take, right?
Yeah,
it also only costs 1 coin, right?
It costs 1,
so
and then I will do.
Left, so you could immediately get Marry the Rich.
Yes.
Which if you don't get it, I'm getting it, right? Because Coronation is just strong, right?
Yes. And then I'll go ahead and confirm the turn. And that refreshes the market.
Yeah. Yep. So what I'll say now about how the PAX games related. So they are originally conceived by Phil Eklund's company, Sierra Madre Games, right? I don't even know what the first one was. May have even been PAX Porfiriana. I'm not sure. The thing that ties them all together is that they're mostly card-based and that they have this market system. The market system, I think, is the thing that's like the core mechanic in a PAX game, and that you are mostly manipulating the game through card play, right? That's basic. I think that's basically it. Most of them have some form of like spatial abstraction. This one actually is more concrete than most, because the spatial abstraction in PAX Premier is like your tableau, you can like walk around the tableau with spies, right? But it's not really, that's about it, right? Oh wait,
there's
and then
there's
a map.
Military stuff on that. It's simplified from this though, right? Like in the same way that there's a lot of flattening of things here in the tableau play, like the board presence is the same way.
I haven't played PAX Premier in a while, and I just like totally blanked on the fact that there's a whole cloth map.
A
Yeah.
luxurious cloth
Yeah, it's a
mat
really
in
nice.
terms of
The
like that.
production quality of a Whirly Gig game is always through the roof, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
to follow up real quick
yeah,
with what you said, Pax Porphyrion is the first in the series,
right.
right?
So
So
I've
this is
I've
coming
never
later.
played. I have Porphyriana. I've never played it. It's on that's just that platform that we used Yukata.de
Arcana?
that we played Sekigahara on, right?
Mm,
Which,
yep.
just for the record, I just finished the last episode of Shogun, and of course that ends on in the future we will fight in Sekigahara, and then they don't show the battle.
Ah,
There's no battle scene in the finale because I guess there was no battle
right.
scene in the original book. So, but it ends on that obviously, right? Because it's supposed to be Tokugawa.
Yes.
Anyway,
Pivotal battle. Yep.
not to pivot over to Sekigahara, which I would love to play again because it's
Yeah, that was a
fantastic.
great game.
So now I have two actions, right? So now I have to, I know that you have. So we're playing with open hands, which means I can always click up here on this card symbol and I'll see, oh, those are the cards you have. Those are very strong cards. Because Coronation will immediately give you a king, right?
Yeah.
And you can get, what can you get? France, England, you have a big selection.
Yeah,
France,
there's an
England,
actual
Portugal.
choice
Yeah,
element, right? In
suitors,
a lot of
right?
these other cards, it's tied to region, but that one,
Right.
yeah, I can pick my shot.
So what do we have here? We have Michelangelo, which yeah, that's just okay, not that interesting. Crusade. So what is a crusade? So crusades and jihads and reformations are all mechanically the same, but they're obviously for the three different religions. So in order to do a crusade, first of all, you have to crusade against a place that has heretics, right? So right now in the West, there are none. There are only Catholics. And over here, like, I don't see crusade against Ottoman. Sounds like a terrible idea, right? Because it's only so here. Let's go here. Let me show you an example here. So any of the battle tables that are religious wars, it shows you who are the attackers, who are the defenders. For a religious war, it's all the agents, which are the agents that come in with the card. So, for example, for this crusade, the agent would be a bishop. The bishop is like the equivalent of a spy from Pax Pamir, right? It can only go on
Yeah.
cards and kings. It can't go on the map, and it basically silences the ops on that card, except for the Inquisitor op, which is how you get to move them around, right? But right now, when you look at this table up here, it says agents, knights, and rooks, not bishops, so they don't count as attackers. Believer knights in the target, believer knights adjacent. So that's the big deal. So any knight that's adjacent can be part of the fight. But if you look here, this like Ottoman has three defenders. So even if I try to do a crusade against Ottoman, it's not going to work, especially not with this card, right? Which is unfortunate because I would like to do it because this is a Ottoman has a lot of strength and they get more levies as we run trade fairs. And I understand that I have not explained levies or trade fairs yet, but we'll get there, I promise. So what am I going to do here? Let's say, okay, this looks interesting. Reformation, Black Army, and Hungary. So that would work, right? Because now I would have these two agents, right? And a Reformation takes all the adjacent agents, but there are none because guess what? At this early stage, there is mostly Catholicism and Islam. That's it. Like the Reformation hasn't happened yet, right? But I could start it. I could start it. I kind of feel like I want to do it because this should work. A Reformation in Hungary would work because it's just like basically it's going to be these two versus this one knight, and I'll be able to take over Hungary. So let's try that. So I'm going to buy this card. It's going to cost me 2, right? So get it. And I think I'm going to play it right away because right now I don't really see a better way to go. Unless I think. No, I think that's it. I don't think I want Michelangelo. Concessions count 2 times during trade fairs and votes. Oh man, the trade fairs part is strong. I didn't even see that. So I'm going to buy this now and then I'll explain trade fairs when we get to this because that means that my concessions Aussie get 2 coins instead of 1 on the way,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
That
Okay.
is slightly nuts.
Well, especially early on, right? Like getting that and sticking that early, that's
Yeah.
a major
So I'm
economic
going to get
advantage.
this and I'm going to confirm. So now it's your turn. So now the whole market refreshes. And you'll see, and I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but you'll see that much of the money is going to accumulate all the way here on these left cards. And you
Yep.
get that money by running trade fairs that then start at a specific city and pay out money to all the concessions on the path. And place new units in every region that's passed as a form of levies. That's the very quick explanation of trade fairs. It has a couple of other implications, but we'll get to that when we run a trade fair.
Yeah, probably easier to explain in motion, like
Probably, but we'll see when we get there. So right now, it's your turn.
Yep.
So like Ozzy's concession is up here, which means that a Western trade fair, which right now starts in Trebizond, because it has three possible. Each trade fair has three start points that are possible. Two of them are always busted. So right now, Spice Islands and Red Sea are busted. So a Western trade fair would start here and move along this white path and would pay out to me before it pays out to Steve.
Yes.
Right? And right now on the Eastern trade fair, starts up here in Tana, could start also in Timbuktu or Novgorod. There's nothing. We don't have concessions along there, so it makes no sense to even try it. Right?
Right.
So the trade fairs are straight up not that good right now, right? Because you want to get concessions out first. But my guess is that Ozzy's going to play some cards.
I'm trying to weigh on if I go ahead and do Marry the Rich. I'm trying in assessing the board to see like which one of these is maybe the best to go with.
France, Portugal, England, Portugal, or Holy Roman Empire.
Right. In terms of like market presence, I'm not seeing a lot of cards on any of those. Right. Other than
you know that I'm going to take over Hungary soon, right? Like I have the Reformation in Hungary, right?
Yes.
So you could either try to block it off by already taking over the Holy Roman Empire. Question is whether you're ever going to get more units in here, right?
Yeah,
you will eventually, but you need to get money all the way over here because once the money runs out from the trade fair. So what happens is you start with the money that's there, you add one to it because we're in a 2-player game, and then you pay out. So the first person who started it just gets one for just starting it, and then it goes along the concessions until it runs out. And pirates, which, believe it or not, I'm not making this shit up. There are pirates.
There are pirates in this game because everything's in this game. Why not?
Yeah.
And like I know on the middle part of that West Market there is the one card for Holy Roman Empire that the Kappler
Milchsuppe. Kappeler Milchsuppe. This is where I can shine as a German.
I was gonna say I'm gonna rely on you for the European pronunciations. I'm an American. I'm very American at this. So
this is this is where you're like, oh yeah, I could get that rook. That knight.
Potentially, right? But I'm trying to think of whether I even want to try to make that as play. I have no florins, right? Like the one thing about taking, I already sold out my first turn to take those cards, which I think like I said, like you had mentioned before, with those law symbols being so hard to find, like I think this is where
you definitely did the right thing. You just dug in. Good night, Ryan. you just dug in. And now you have to dig yourself out again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing to note is campaigning is actually not free. So even when you take the op, you have to pay a number of florins equal to the number of knights in the region you are campaigning from, right? So if you have 2 knights there, you're going to pay 2 florins. And if you don't have the 2 florins, the campaign op will not be highlighted. And trust me, I've like, why can't I campaign right now, right? Like when I was playing the game the first couple of times. So man, BGA is such a beautiful institution for that, where it's just like, I can't do a thing. There must be a reason. Let's figure it out, right? Like all the rules you would get wrong when you played in person.
The implementation here is very, very good.
Super solid.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and play Marry the Rich to the Tableau. I will do the coronation one shot.
Right.
And now I have to pick a king to marry.
You do have to pick a king to marry.
Man, do I want to make a play for Holy Roman Empire or France? It's basically France or Holy Roman Empire
I
is
mean, the
kind of
thing you
where.
should take into account is like Portugal do has a discovery,
Oh, that's right.
which is good
Yeah.
if you're going for the globalization victory, but we're so early in the game that it doesn't really, I don't think it matters that much.
I mean, I
Um,
guess it's good to keep. I'm sort of like towing towards the medieval age victory with law, but also keeping the door open. One of the things I'm curious to see about this game, the more that we play, or the more that we play other subsequent games, is how much of an adjustment you can make midway. Like the one thing that sort of typified the first game that we played is that I opened the globalization victory early, but then tried to pivot around to the
right.
Renaissance victory. And it's like, is that something that you can actually
In
do?
a
The game
two-player
sort of
game, you can for sure set yourself up for multiple ways to win.
right.
Like you can put the opponent between a rock and a hard place by being like, I can prevent you from pulling off the imperial victory, but if I do that, you're going to win on globalization or vice versa, right?
Yeah,
So there, as I said earlier, right, there's like definitely like a lot of strategy to like building a good state from where you can like pivot. I
right.
think, and I've played one game with you all and 9 games with my friend John, right?
Yeah.
And in all of those games, there was like a lot of snowballing.
Yeah, I will go ahead and do. I actually Portugal. I think with the mind of keeping that door open, as many doors open as possible. I'll go ahead and take Henry the Navigator.
Okay,
So
so
we'll have a
now
lovely ceremony.
if you're
Um,
paying attention, you just saw that the Portuguese king is now no longer on his throne. He is now in your tableau, married to Mary, right? And the thing about this, also hilariously, I didn't know this. So it says here, Jacob Fugger, the richest man who ever lived. So I looked this up. Adjusted for inflation, what do you think his net worth was back then?
oh, I mean, inflation versus this period of time.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
he is
a
indeed
billionaire at
no
minimum,
no
right?
he is indeed the richest man who ever lived to this day.
Yeah, to this day,
To this
even. Okay.
day, yeah. So you have to go high, like you have to go much higher.
You have to go like trillions, or like
Not
even.
quite, not quite. It's
Okay.
four. I'll just spoil it. It's 400 billion.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, give or take a half trillion.
100 billion.
Like,
Oh,
yes.
Ryan guessed 100. Yeah, 400, right? Because again, like
Wow.
you have to, like if I say the richest man who ever lived, he has to have more than Musk at his peak, which was like close to 200 or over 200. So 400. This Fugger dude had 400 billion in today's dollars, right? Yeah.
Man. Yeah, we are playing as bankers. Like
Yeah.
that is part like worth considering as a part of the broader political or historical socio-political
Right.
aesthetic in here. Like,
Right.
um,
Well, Dan Thoreau loves this game, right? And one of the reasons why I was like, and Dan Thoreau was like, thinks Phil Eklund is a nutcase, but still loves this game. Like, you can love this
right.
game and still think that the person who made
And
it
still,
is full of
yes.
shit, right?
Right.
Like,
Well, and right. And we've the same way that we played like Modern Warfare 2, right? Like
yep.
we can enjoy the game and
With
then
that,
also
yeah.
confront the source material,
Well, you can also
right?
go further and say, I still think The Witness is a fantastic game, and I think John Blow's gone off the deep end, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yep.
right.
Same.
So, yeah.
In terms of placement, so okay, so in getting the in terms of marrying and getting Henry the Navigator and doing that, I have an opportunity to place a concession in 2 slots off of
This is
Portugal.
true. So, and that's happening because of this icon right here, right? So that's a concession icon, a pawn on Henry the Navigator, which means that when Henry the Navigator lands in your tableau, you get to place a concession.
Right. And
Likewise, if I already had concessions here, you could pay one. You could pay one florin if you had it to
right.
suppress mine, right? And if you suppress it, it would go onto the Portugal area, right? As a
Okay.
suppressed concession. And there are ways to get that back later through other means.
So yeah, I don't know right now. I think both of these concession slots that they can go into, like they're
Yeah,
both in play for both routes here,
this
right?
is
So
true.
for East and West. So I
Right.
don't know that it ultimately
I mean, it
matters.
would matter if suddenly we had a trade shift to Novgorod and you wanted to be closer to that for the
Yeah.
but right now I think it's not that big of a deal. You might
Yeah.
want to have it as far away from Hungary as possible, but it doesn't matter, right? Because I'm not going to campaign over there in like one turn.
Right.
Ooh, did I miss John Blow talk? No, no, you did not, Tyler. We're not talking about John Blow. We were just making a point about separating the creator from the creation.
Right. Or at least recognizing like taking different aspects of the game on its own terms,
Right.
right? Like the system's design, recognizing the political,
Right.
like what may be happening from a philosophical or
Right. Well, I mean,
standpoint.
truth be told, probably the bankers had a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably
400 billion probably buys you a
400
lot of
billion. Yeah,
political power, as we know from contemporary events, right?
it's money talks.
Yeah.
So so now that's the big opening play, and then
Right.
now it's like, okay, what do I do?
What's your other card again? It's
I mean, the other
the
card is
peasant
Aragon. It's the Syndicate, right?
peasant
Um,
revolt in Aragon. So peasant revolt in Aragon right now, again, we can just look it up, right? It's agents, pirates bordering, your concessions bordering, and repressed pawns. So right now you have agents. There's an agent on the card there,
yep.
which I think is a concession. Your concessions bordering, so it would be all your concessions bordering. So if you only have it would only be one, right? So if you undid what you did just now and you moved this concession over here, and
Then I
then
could have put it to two,
then you could do that and put it to 2 by repressing me, but you'd also need a florin for that,
and
right?
I don't have a
Which you
form.
don't have yet. But if you want to set yourself up for that, you could literally just say undo last step and move the concession between
Right.
Portugal and Aragon, right?
Right.
Which sets you up for what that card is trying to do. And now
Right.
from me saying this, right, you can already see how intricate this game is, right? Like you would have maybe just thought, it doesn't matter. But if you look closely at what your options are, which are always like 100 different things, that's where the depth of this game comes from, right?
Right. One card play can have two or three different angles
Right.
of attack on it. Like two or three different
Right.
considerations, and that's what makes it. That's why it's
Right.
4.63.
Yep.
Wait,
That's why it's
but that's also what
4.63.
makes it.
And it's also
That
just
is what makes it interesting.
there's a lot going on. I feel like I'm better at teaching it now because I've played 10 games of it. But there's a lot going on. In the beginning, I was just like, I don't even know what winning means in this game, right? So wait, what did you just do? Oh, you did. So here's the thing. Oh wait, how did you already? What's going on here? Oh right, because you. So careful now about. Well, you're gonna. You know what? It's actually fine because you're just gonna lose one of those, right? Because again, you'll see over here in the log. So now because you had one one incoming agent on the card, which I can't see anymore because it's in your Tableau.
Right.
You had one incoming agent on the card, so your attackers are the one pawn you already had and the second one. And
Yeah.
now there's a defender, and now you're going to eliminate the knight, but you also have to eliminate one of your pawns, which probably you're going to eliminate the agent, right?
Yeah.
Now you could also eliminate this one and then place the new one and suppress mine, but you can't because it costs a florin.
Right. And this is just a question of, okay, if
Are you going to do it now, or are you
between-
going to do it later when you have money?
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
And
you can do it now. Well, I mean, again, if you do this, what you're doing now, it's a wash because now you're going to be able to place the agent on that same spot.
on that same spot.
On that same spot, which it doesn't matter whether, right? But what I'm saying is if you had a florin, you could have put it on mine, repress
Right.
mine, and basically put yourself to 2 and me to 0 concessions,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah.
but that's as good as it gets for you right now. And I think now you still have to confirm that or something.
Well, I've got to place the other one up top for getting that. And I think that's
Right.
so that gets me 2 kings. That gets, I've
Right.
got I think that's
No,
a
this is
decent
fine.
thing.
Again, you could have waited it out until you could have repressed me so you're on the trade fair. But what this also allows you to do here is you do have 3 concessions. This one will
Yes.
never earn you money from trade fairs, but it will be valuable for if you ever, and this is relevant for you, right? If you ever want to use the vote operation. So
Yes.
that's where your concessions vote on changing the regime from a kingdom into a republic,
Yes.
which may be relevant for you because of your two law prestige.
Right. If I'm going towards that Ren victory,
Yeah.
that's I'm going to want any leverage I can to flip that.
And
So,
you even have vote in Aragon. You have the
Yes.
vote in Aragon, so you literally could use that op right now because you have majority Actually, wait.
Yep.
You know what? You don't have majority, or you have it right now. You might not have it next turn,
I was
because
gonna say
because I
it's
have
got
the
to wheel
concession.
around
No,
because I've got
it's
to use
because I
my.
have that concessions count 2x, right?
Oh, and that
So if
counts for the votes as well.
the second I play this, you will not have the majority vote in Aragon anymore,
I see.
right?
Okay. I'm still gonna go ahead and confirm it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's
So,
worth
but you
moving
see
forward with
how
it.
you
But
see how nuts deep this game is, right? Because of all of these little intricacies and that's where like the little like levers, politics, like there's
yes.
so much going on in this game. It's so rich.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 cards in hand, so you'll see I can't buy anything, right? Because I already have 2 cards. So probably I want to now start my Reformation of Hungary. I'm a little bit worried about what's going on over here, right? But like let's say whatever. And I'm going to play the Hungary card, confirm. So it goes here. It asks me, do you want to perform the one shot? I do want to perform the one shot. And so now what you saw what just happened, I have to explain by going up here to the map cards. If you look at Hungary, it started like this, right? It started as like secular. But now because I did a Reformation, it switched to being a Protestant theocracy, which gave it 2 defensive rooks, which right now, of course, it has none because it lost everything. But if we ever do a trade fair and this place starts getting levies, whoever did the trade fair has to decide which of these 2 slots gets filled, right? So I eliminate the agent, yep, and I get to place the other agent, and I'm going to say it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to place it here, right? Now, I also got, similar to you, I got the king, right? So now you have 2 kings, I have 1 king. And I also get to place a concession. So I'm going to place the concession here. And then I have another action. And now I could consider doing an Eastern trade fair. It would straight up net me 2 coins, and I would start placing levies because I have something on that map, and I maybe I want 3 coins. Because right now, yes, I could campaign from Hungary, but I wouldn't win any of the campaigns. Actually, you know what? That's not true. I would actually win no, I would not win against Byzantium because there's a knight up here. So running headlong into campaigns and one-shots that you can't win, I think is a sure shot way to lose this game.
Right.
Because I know this because John's been losing quite a bit against me, and he just often runs like inefficient campaigns or inefficient one-shots. And I'm like, ooh, just don't do it. It's a wasted action, right? So I'm not going to campaign right now. It'll also cost me a last florin. So let's just straight up show you So I'm going to do Trade Fair East. It's going to start in Tana, because that's the only non-busted of the 3 black starting points. It's going to go through Byzantium, Hungary, Ottoman, and Mamluk, but it's actually never going to pass into Ottoman. Because right now there's only 1 coin here. A second will be added. I will get 1 by default, and then the second one will be gobbled up by my concession, meaning that only Byzantium and Hungary are going to get concessions. Are going to get levies. But I will get the king, right? And I will get to place another concession. So I am going to wait. What did I just say? No, that's not actually. I'm not going to wait. What was my glorious? Oh, trade fair, right? So I'm not gonna get the concession because I'm not gonna get the king yet. So I'm gonna do the trade fair east, not west, right? West has a lot of money on it. It would be 4. 1 would go to me, 2 would go to me, 3 would go to me, and 1 would go to you. So I have to make a decision. Do I want to get 3 to 1, or do I want to get 2 to 0?
Right.
And I think I want to get 2 to 0.
Right.
So I'm going to go trade
because
fair.
I'm strapped for cash right now.
You're
I'm
strapped
still
for
zeroed
cash.
in.
So I'm going to go trade fair east, confirm. Right. Got 1 out of the bank. There's 1 left. And now I'm going to decide, well, I'm already on the I kind of already want to run something that's What do I want here? Let's do a defender. And then this will autofill, right? This wasn't a choice because there was only 1 spot free. And then it didn't even get to putting levies down in Ottoman because the money ran out when it hit this yellow concession.
Right.
So now I have 3.
That's as far as it went.
That's as far as it went. And I'm going to end my turn. right? Market refreshes. But now one thing happened that probably went a little bit too fast, which is when you run the trade fair, the front card here gets removed, right? So if you ever run a trade fair, then the front card would normally not get removed. It's not like default remove the leftmost card when you refresh the market. It's only if the trade fair ran. So right now there was a card here, which probably here, Barbarossa Brothers, that was the card that was there. That was the pirate card, becomes the next East Fair trade card. So that got removed, and it basically, the narrative explanation in the rulebook is that card had its chance, and now it's lost to history.
Right.
So now it's your turn.
The opportunity has passed. Right?
Opportunity's passed. So you're broke. You have one. You have no cards. You have no cards, and you're broke. But
yes.
Oh, and the other thing that I hate to tell you is voting is also not free.
Right. I was just I don't have a way to do the vote.
You don't have a way to do the vote because I'm pretty sure that similar to campaigning, you have to pay 1 florin per voting concession.
Yes.
Right. So even though right now you would win the vote because I did not put out Michelangelo, you'd need 2 coins to do it.
Right.
So I'm not saying you can't do it. Right. You could probably find money somehow, although it's kind of hard for you because of the way the trade fairs work right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could give you.
Yeah, you could give me 3 and you 1. That
give
sounds
you
like
3.
a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Right now, the income that I'm looking at is the commerce action on the syndicate. But it's like, okay, do I just burn a Tableau ops because I don't want to do campaigns elsewhere if I'm trying to fundraise?
Right, because you have no money to campaign, right? Even if so you can do these in any order. You don't have to do them left to right or anything. So you could do the commerce first, but that would give you like 1 florin. And then you could campaign from either Portugal or Aragon. Let's see. Right now, again, here's the thing. These strawman ops, like voting, those can only be done with ops against your own kings. You cannot campaign against your own king to force a regime change. That is not allowed. Right? So right now it's like, oh, you could just campaign from Portugal to Aragon for that 1 florin and get Aragon to flip to a republic. But you can't do that. And this is the point where I'll also explain these are all inactive, right? In either of these decks, there are 2 comet cards. And when you buy the comet card, you get to flip one of these victory conditions as an action. But you also have to buy the comet card for that to happen, right?
And you also need to buy the comet card to flip it, and then you have to have at least 1 action to activate it, right?
To like declare victory. Yeah, declare victory. Declare victory is an action, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes declare victory is here. Declaring imperial victory costs 2 actions, right? Some cards make the declaring victory action more expensive, right?
Right, and that's the tricky balance of, okay, when do I want to try to flip this? When do I want to bring this victory condition online? Right, like if you commit too early and then end up having to pivot, that's wasted action.
It's wasted action. Right. Yeah. So what are you gonna do to get money? Because I'm looking at this right now. I'm like, okay, you can't buy a card. You can't really. If you do the trade fair, you're giving me a lot of money. But honestly, I don't know what you do otherwise.
If I run the trade fair east, is that 2 to 1 in that case? Because I get the 1 natively for doing the trade fair.
It's actually 1 to 1.
Okay.
Because the third will just not be used, right? So 1 would go to you, 1 would go to me, and then it reaches...
Oh, because they would be empty. There's only 2 on the...
So okay. You would add 1, and it would be 3, but only 2 of them we've paid out. So it would be 1 to 1, right? If you do Eastern Trade Fair, it'd be 1 to 1. But Ottoman and Mamluk would both get levies, which you would get to decide whether. Well, again, in Mamluk's case, you have no decision because there's only 1 space. But in the Ottoman case, you would get to decide whether it's Catholic or Protestant, because it would run all the way to the end. It just wouldn't pay to anyone anymore.
It just wouldn't pay to anything. Right. I might open with that trade fair.
You might have to do that, right? Because otherwise, I really don't see how you're going to come to money, right?
At least not with any sort of pace. And then I guess so yeah, like trying to figure out Catholic versus Protestant. Like we do have Catholic to the north in Hungary, but you have control of Hungary. I don't know that that's necessarily like I'm thinking Protestant here.
Yeah, the way you usually look at this is like who needs to be the heretic if you want to do a religious war,
right?
So yeah,
Uh, I'm thinking Protestant.
yeah, because
Um,
because it's also like if you look again at these religious wars, it's like knights, agents, and believer knights, rooks in target, right? So if I ever wanted to do a holy war against Ottoman as the Protestants, then actually that rook would be beneficial. But right now, I don't see a reformation in the tableau in the market at all. That doesn't mean it won't come out eventually, but
right.
another
It's just a question
interesting
of whether that lands in the tableau.
right. Another interesting aspect of the game
Or
is like
the
both of these
market,
West
rather.
and
Sorry.
East decks are only 20 cards each for the starting of the game, and I think the game
Yep.
comes with like 200 cards. So it's like you're never going to see the same set of cards twice, I think.
Oh, I
Right?
didn't realize that
I
it
think
was a
there are a
subset
lot
of a
of
broader card
cards. I
pool.
think it's a subset of a huge card pool, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not super
All right.
sure about how many cards actually come with the base game, but I think there's quite a bit. Right.
Okay. Well, so
So now
we'll go with
you have a coin. Um,
that. Don't spend it all in one place.
Jihad in the East. I mean, Jihad in the East is not a bad card, but you have to ask yourself whether you want to spend that one coin you have on that card or whether you want to. But I mean, probably that's not a bad idea. Right?
Well, I mean, and that's why I was trying to figure out if it was worth just doing the commerce, even though like I'm like just as that would be the only part of that Tableau Op West. It's
Right.
just a commerce off maybe the Western trade fair, just to
Yeah, I
one to
mean,
even reduce.
you can definitely reduce the money. You'll get more concessions over. Sorry, you'll get more. Let's see. It's going to be 3 + 1. That's 4. So one to you, one to me, one to me, one to you. That would be what would happen, right? So two to you, two to me if you do West. Whereas if I do West, which is what I'm for sure going to do, it's 3 to 1,
Right.
right? So 2 to 2 is
So
maybe not a bad idea, right? For you, I mean,
just trying to keep parity. I realize that I'm
yeah.
like giving you a whole bunch of
You
money in
are
the
giving me
process,
money, but
but
also you have no money, right?
yeah, I'm trying to figure out the quickest way to get towards some form of a wallet,
Right.
like an actual. Um, yeah.
Right.
So
Now
I
you get
think, and
to
then
place a levy in where Aragon probably.
yeah, it's
Yeah, you
Aragon,
definitely
and
want the rook for that, right? Sorry, the knight, because Aragon belongs to you. If you ever want to start campaigning, you can only campaign with knights, right?
yep, yeah,
And that's
we'll
it,
go
right?
there.
Because it ends here. Because this
Yep,
concession
that's my
here of
last action.
yours gets the money, right?
Yep, and then we'll refresh the
Yeah. So
market over.
also that jihad that you just had is now gone, right? Because you literally ran both trade fairs, so both right
Yes,
leftmost cards went away.
yep, it cycled them through.
So I have a lot of money now and no cards. And well, I do have a card, the Michelangelo card, which eventually I'm going to have to do. Otherwise, you're going to be able to turn Aragon into a republic, which will straight up put you in Renaissance victory condition, right?
Right.
But there are
Because it
no.
would be one more republic than anybody
It would
else.
be one more republic, and you'd have two more law prestige. Which again, you'll notice there are no law prestige anywhere right now,
Yeah, we
except
still
for.
haven't hit any yet. Yeah.
So what am I gonna do? Crusade in Aragon? Can't do it because there are no heretics. Heretics. How do you pronounce that word?
I've always pronounced it heretics.
Heretics. Okay. Um, okay. This one, vote in Holy Rome. I'm not that interested in that. I think the Jihad in Mamluk. Yeah, the Jihad in Mamluk is good because that will definitely succeed. Right? There's so many. Like those Catholics don't have a chance.
Yeah, it's
Um, uh, so one other thing that's interesting to note is you'll notice that some of these cards are straight up the region, and some of them are just like the West, right?
yes.
Why are those good? They're good because siege is just a way to get rid of any form of token to like soften up a place before you campaign against it. And when you have
Yep.
a card that says the West, you can do it anywhere in the West,
Anywhere.
right? So while Mamluk has siege, you can only do the siege in that region, which if you already own it, what's the point, right?
Right.
Unless you want to weaken it to flip it for some reason,
Yep.
which again, not something that's in my interest right now. So, and the other thing I could think about is if I could actually get a reformist bishop token out and get like a little bit religion going, then I would have the Holy Victory, right? So,
Hmm.
but again, unfortunately, I don't actually see a single card right now that is a Protestant, has a Protestant symbol on it. So let's see. Yeah, I think I have to take the Jihad. I think I have to buy the Jihad. The other thing is Ottoman. Ugh, that's only one token. It's not bad though, and there are no trade shifts. Oh no, there's trade shift Red Sea for Ottoman. Trade shift Red Sea
Where
is
do you
the
see that?
right here. See where it says like in the Tersane E. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
trade shift Red Sea. So that what that says is it would take. So it would no longer be Tana. It would move to the Red Sea, which is not something I want, right?
Right.
That is definitely straight up not something. Oh no, sorry. Trade shift Red Sea. That's actually
Where would
move the
the
busted disk of the specified emporium to cover. Red Sea is white. So it would actually move the Western trade fair from Trebizond to the Red Sea, which again, I also don't really want that. Right? So I feel like I might need to hate draft that card unless I run the Eastern trade fair, which I could,
right?
because it would still be 2 coins for me.
Right.
And that way at least that card will be away. And I don't have to hate draft
Right.
it away. So
Yeah, and
probably
you
I'm
can,
gonna
and again, you can play it without the one shot, right? Like
yeah,
you can
yeah.
bypass the
But
one
I'm not
shot.
gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the Jihad card for 2. And then I'm going to run Trade Fair East, which should give me, if I'm doing the math correctly, should give me 2 coins. It did. And then I'm going to confirm. And you're going to see that this card here is going to flip into the trade fair the second I hit confirm. See?
Yeah.
And it takes its money with it. So there we go. First
Right.
Comet card, right?
Yep.
Which you, 1, 2, 3, can't buy.
I can't buy yet.
Can't
Yep.
buy yet. But also, none of us have the victory, like, have any meaningful win condition right now, right?
Right.
You're not at the globalization victory because you're not 2 or more. You're close. You're close to the globalization victory, but not. You're 1 concession away from it. Like you need
Yeah.
to. I mean, your board state looks better than mine right now, but the fact like that I have 6 versus 3 coins is not should not be should not be overlooked. Right? And I think right now my concessions are better placed to make money.
Yeah, and so like looking at this, like on that Eastern market, the Bank of St. George that has the conspiracy in Byzantium, there's also the Jewish bankers static effect where each of your it opens up the possibility to reduce the cost to run vote ops by 1 if I'm trying to think about playing towards flipping some of these kings to republics
Right.
with vote later,
And it gives you a concession,
and it
which
gives me a
straight up
concession.
puts you in the win condition for the globalization victory.
Yeah.
Right? So
I
that's
think, yeah, I think I want to go ahead
get
and
the
do
Bank
that.
of St. George. Yeah, it's probably not bad.
Yeah, and then do we play it early? I mean, I guess we can go ahead and even just to get the concession out on the board.
Yeah, I mean, why
Um,
not, right? Why not? I mean, I have 2 cards in my hand, which they're not doing anything in my hand. I mean, you can
right.
always
So
sell them for 2, but that seems like that's like a last resort, right?
I mean, I need the money, but I also like it's. I think we want the impact. Like
Right.
I'm looking for the impact of this card on the board.
Yeah.
So now the conspiracy one shot running. If I run that, the
So the
conspiracy.
conspiracy in Byzantium I don't think that would succeed, right? Because you have so many defenders there. So it's agents, which is a pawn, pirates
Right.
bordering, and repressed knights. There are none, right? Against all units, probably
Against all
knights
units
and
there.
rooks and cards location. No, you would lose. You would
Right.
lose. You would not get the pawn would die. But here's the good news: you can run it without running the conspiracy and still place
Yes.
the pawn, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to trigger the one shot. If you trigger the one shot, then you have to place the pawn or have to place the agent. But if you don't trigger the one shot, I think you can just straight up place a pawn, like
Well,
place
we're
a
gonna try it.
concession.
So if I bypass the one shot, yes, I can place the pawn. So On the order on the Hungary border or on the Mamluk border.
Well, again, if you put it on the Hungary border, you can straight up suppress my pawn
Yeah.
for a florin. You don't have a whole lot of
For
money, but you could do that,
right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'm going to pull that lever yet, but again, kind of keeping as many tactical options on on the
Right.
on the board as
So this
possible.
is good for you now, right? Because now you get the first dibs on both East and West trade fairs,
Right.
right?
So okay, so we'll go ahead and refresh the market out.
So I'm
Um,
so far away from any victory condition, and I feel like my best bet again right now would be to like somehow get some Protestant stuff out, but there is none, right? There is none. So the tides of the time are not in my favor. Jesus Christ, what am I supposed to do right now? Because again, you are in contention for discovery win, but you have no money to buy it. So I may need to straight up buy that just so that you
I
can't
hate draft it.
accidentally buy it. That said, you
Yeah.
won't be able to buy it as your first action. But then you will then trying to get that away, try to wrangle that from you, I think is going to be very hard. Because again, there's also no discovery, right? I could try to get Portugal from you, but how? Like I'm literally a million miles away, right?
Right.
So this is rough. Do I want to do? Yeah, I think I need to do the Holy War. So let's do that first because I think that's just a straight up good idea. I'm gonna play that, and then I'm gonna do the one shot, and of course that will succeed. You must select a token. Who do I want to eliminate? I think I want to eliminate the Byzantium.
Right.
Something in Byzantium, right? Because taking over Ottoman is almost impossible. Always because it
Yeah, there's
has
way too much. There's
way
way too
too
much there.
much.
But Byzantium, you have an angle of attack
Right.
to overthrow or to take that king.
So I place the surviving attacker here. Take that, and now obviously, or not so obviously, but I think relatively obviously, I'm gonna place my concession here, which now means that you're no longer in the win condition. So now we're back
Right.
3-4,
Yep.
and I think do I want to take this now to see? Do I want to just buy it straight up to see what happens? Now, East is juicy, right? Because there's 3 on it, would be 4. It would go 1 to me, 1 to you, 1 to me, 1 to me. So that's 3-1. Yeah, I have to do that. I have to do that and then let you buy. If you really want to do that, that's up to you. But I'm gonna just do Trade Fair East and maybe regret my decisions later. There we go. Confirm. Because now, yeah, it's sliding down. By the way, these can also slide away. Right? In which case you will not unlock all 4 win conditions.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that can also
Okay.
happen. So you can buy it now, obviously, but again, you have to ask yourself, are you going to be able to push that hard? Maybe. I don't know. You could also buy it and straight up already bank on the fact that you getting a republic is more likely than me, or I will never have 2 law
I
prestige, right?
I was considering that. I was considering the possibility of just okay, maybe playing the long game, but at least getting to that because we don't know when the next comet will hit the board.
Well,
Um,
I mean, the answer is there's one more in the East deck, and there's only 9 cards left. But they're also,
mm,
and there's 2 more in the West deck, and there's 12 cards left. So
12 cards left.
probably we're going to get one relative, depending on how fast we buy cards and how much we run trade fairs, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
oh, and I forgot that, of course, my running the Eastern Trade Fair put all of the levies back on the board.
Yeah, yeah.
So good luck.
They're
Good
all
luck.
back in.
Good luck campaigning against anything right now. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't see it. I guess. I guess the question is that if I do buy the comet and I flip, I mean, let's say I flip either one. That next action on the turn, what am I doing? Am I commercing on a Tableau op? Either way, I guess I could commerce that last florin off of the east.
Yeah. I mean, they're actually they're both. Sorry, careful. They're both west. Right. Even the Bank of St. George is doing commerce in the west. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which I'm
Well then,
sure there's probably a historical reason for that. But take care, Ryan. Ryan's off to
yep.
running
Yep.
off.
Um,
Yeah. So, and right now the West has 0 florins.
0. Yeah, there's
Zero.
nothing to extract there.
It's actually every. I mean, I've been sucking everything dry, right? I
Yes.
have
Um,
9 florins, which is kind of bonkers. Like you
that's
have
a
a better
lot of
board,
money
you
in
have a
this
better
game.
board state, but I'm very rich, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully I can use that to my advantage in some way. So I don't know whoever's watching this right now on the later recording or live, like if you already get the point that I was trying to make, which is this feels a little bit more like a chess game, right? Because there's
Yes.
like we're both building up momentum, which feels like fighting for good spots in the center and fighting for a good board position so that you can run any form of tactical maneuver to like take over the game, right?
Yeah, and I think to your point about Pax Ren being like okay as a two-player game, 1v1 versus like in comparison to Premier where you need the other, you have to
Yeah,
have the
you
other
just straight
automated
up need
player
the
to
other
have
one.
disruption.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you need like even man, PAX Premiere with 3 is even like not great.
you're
It's
right. You
fine.
want
It's fine, but it's like a much better 4-player game,
yes,
right? Because there's 3
yeah,
factions. You kind of always want one to have at least 2 people who are loyal to it, right? So
yep,
there's always a little bit of an imbalance. If you're 3 players, it's way too dangerous that everyone just picks theirs, right? Anyway, I don't know what your. I honestly don't know right now what
I,
your best bet is. Like, I mean, again, there's gonna be a risk for either of us either way. That the comet
yeah.
card, right? I honestly would almost let it slide if I were you, but you literally at this point you could vote to flip Aragon to a republic because I still haven't
Yeah.
played Michelangelo, right?
Yeah,
But
I
it
was
will
thinking
cost
about
you both of your florins, in which
yeah,
case you
it'll
cannot buy
cost
the comet.
yeah, it'll totally close that out. And the question is,
And
I'm that's what I was weighing. I'm like,
yeah, and
man,
guess
like,
who's going to buy the comet if you do that?
yeah, yeah.
Miss
Um,
Richie Rich Pants over here is going to buy the comet.
what,
Um,
what do you mean you have 9 florins? How did that happen? No, yeah, you drained the board
I
dry.
drained the board. Yeah.
Oh, man,
God, this game is so good.
um,
This game, I love this game so much.
it's good.
It's so
It's
good.
good. I'm still on the fence versus Premiere, but
No, no,
there's definitely a different flavor to what's
they
happening here.
have they both are in the Pax family, but they could not be more different. I still think in terms of like
Right,
dynamics,
that's what's
right?
wild about
Yeah.
this
I mean,
is
this one
how
is. I believe this one is deeper, right? This one feels deeper to me.
yeah,
Again, that's not. I don't think that's not like a value judgment in the sense that ooh, depth equals quality. It's just like
right,
if you have a like an appetite for a deeper game and not something that's like more swingy and more political, then you're
right.
going to play this over. And if you want to play like, hey, let's play like a wildly swingy table negotiation politics game, which is again what Cole likes making, then you're going to play Pax Premier, right? They're just
Yeah.
two different,
They're different
yeah,
flavors.
two different beers,
Yeah.
right? One's
Yes.
one's an IPA and the other's a Pilsner. I don't know. I don't know. Terrible analogy.
No, no,
Um,
yeah, I think and I'm sure we'll debrief a little bit on this too
yeah,
as I mean what these games are doing in their space like with their with
yeah.
their depth. I think they're both incredibly
Yeah, I mean they're both nines. They're
fantastic
both
games.
9
Yeah,
out
they're
of
both
tens for me right now.
yes,
In fact, I think they
absolutely.
both have this one especially has a strong potential to move to a 10. Like the next time I do a top 50, this coming December, this is probably gonna be my top 10 games of all time. I feel like that's gonna happen. Okay, so you're gonna vote. So what happened now is you'll see that this card flipped. So now it's the Republic of Aragon, and I think. So wait, so it did cost you. Did that cost? It didn't cost you anything.
No, it did not cost me anything.
That's interesting because I always
Or at
thought
least
that.
it hasn't required it had maybe it'll charge on the place cuz I still have to place a
Oh,
token.
what agents? Is it? Oh, you have to place the yeah. So you have to place another pawn, right? Because
Yeah.
you flipped it.
And
So
pay one to
and play one to repress me. Which okay, now I'm really screwed on the globalization victory. Actually, I'm screwed on two. You have two victory conditions right now, right? So that only costs
Yeah.
you one. So the vote didn't actually cost money. I thought the vote was cost money.
I thought the vote cost
Whoops,
money too.
that's not
Is that
actually. I'm not. I just clicked on the wrong link. I was trying to go to the rule book. So let's just find vote. Oh God, 30. So I'm gonna click through this PDF.
because
The
the
actual vote ops here.
I
To
mean
use this
there
op, cause a regime change in empires. Empire square can be any tableau, but must be in east or west tableau as specified on the icon. Cost to pay to China number of florins equals to the empire's repressed tokens.
oh, and there were zero repressed tokens at
So
that
there were
moment.
zero repressed tokens, right? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I wasn't okay. I expected to pay two, so I
Oh,
wasn't thinking. I didn't realize it
yeah.
was
It also
hinging off of
allows you, if
the.
the empire is a theocracy, you can add, subtract, or flip its map card to create a medieval non-theocratic state. That's another thing you can do. If you want to ever unflip a theocracy. So I think I lose this game now, right? I think I
Okay.
straight up lose this game because you're going to do the vote. And
Yeah,
now, I mean, so if you don't repress me, you would have enough money to buy the comet.
yeah. Well,
And I don't think I can take the Renaissance victory from you. How would I do that? Like, you've just flipped uh, Aragon into a republic. In order for me to get that, I would have to campaign against Aragon, and I'm 2 spaces away from Aragon, right?
yeah,
So
and so
I think if I were you right now, just off the top of my, I mean, I could crusade against Aragon, but I can't crusade against Aragon because there are no heretics in Aragon, right? So I think you win this. I think you straight up. I think if you like do not repress me and use the two to buy Comet and flip the Renaissance victory, I don't unless you see a way for me to take the Renaissance victory from you, which I do not, right? You're
right.
gonna have more unless I could form a republic. Like how would I do that? So I have Hungary and Mamluk, and I can't do it with a campaign, so it would have to be with some other shenanigans. I could do a
I
conspiracy in Hungary. Would that help? I don't. Well, a conspiracy in Hungary. Let's see. Agents, pirates, bordering, repressed knights, rooks. Has no repressed knights, rooks. I think it wouldn't succeed because it would be 2v2. Um, I could siege in Hungary, but that wouldn't be enough, right? Because if I do the siege, I could only do siege and then buy the card, and it wouldn't be enough to play it. Yeah, I think you got this.
I
I
was gonna
think
say, in the interest of moving things, I will go ahead and do that.
yeah, I think you
I will
got
flip.
this.
I'll flip, and so okay. So we get the comic card. We flip for the Ren victory.
Ren victory, which again, GG. I've never in 10 games I've never managed to pull that off. Because of the spark. You even have 3 laws. Where'd you get the third law of prestige from?
Uh, oh, it
Oh, it's
flipped
on the yeah, it's on the flipped. Oh my god. So that's
I didn't.
important, right? We should always look at what's the other side. Yeah, if
What's
you
on the other side
oh
of the?
that dude, that's how you win it. That's how you win it because a lot of them have well, not a lot of them actually. Looking right now, it's actually only Aragon. Like it looks like it's only Aragon,
Only Aragon.
and
Yeah, I'm trying to flip the others to see.
no, it's only
It's
Aragon.
wow. I just picked the Papal States has one,
Papal states
or
have
Papal
one.
States. Yeah,
Right.
sorry.
So that's another way. So if you're going for Aragon and Papal States, that's another way to get the 2 law icons. I never took that into consideration. So that
Hmm.
actually
Oh,
makes
Holy Roman has it too.
so that actually all of that makes getting the Renaissance victory a lot easier, right? So that's why there are not that many. See, again, I've only played the game 10 times. That's why there aren't as many law icons. So cuz you basically need to campaign or get Aragon, Papal States, or Holy Roman Empire, flip it, and then you already have 1 law icon, right?
Right. It is encouraging to play to the board.
So I
Like
have
you
no.
have to be pushing to that republic.
Again, I see no way to do this, right? Because again, I could. Well, let's see.
I was gonna say, is there a way to?
Is there any Mamluk thing?
Yeah, I
Mamluk
was gonna say, Mamluk might be your way
apostasy.
to flip.
No, but there's only a Mamluk apostasy, right? There's a conspiracy in Hungary. There's a peasant revolt in the Papal States. The West.
And this card's
The
location.
West. There's a conspiracy in the West, but there's nothing. There is no way. Wait a minute. No, again,
Well,
I need 3 actions.
can you, if you thefted the Holy Crown, because that will.
Thefted the Holy Crown.
Well, no, that's for Hungary. Okay, so I was thinking if that's in the East, then you could flip.
No, I would have to flip. I would have to flip either Mamluk or Hungary, right?
Or Hungary.
And Hungary, like Mamluk, I could siege in Mamluk to soften it, but then I don't have the card to do the conspiracy.
It's the third action,
Right?
like you said.
Yeah, I need a third action. I don't think that there's a thing I can do here. Yeah, the coronation in ransom. Sell this card for 2. Suitors, Hungary. I already own Hungary. If I do a coronation with Hungary and I already own it, I don't think that flips it. I don't think that's a regime change. Right? I mean, I can try it literally right now, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't do anything. Right? I can just try this because this game has very generous undo.
Right.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's I don't know to what extent it records in the history, but on some of the terms that we were playing in the prior game, I was running through I was crunching the numbers. I was running through about 6 or 7 different permutations of what that turn could look like.
Right. No, there's that definitely. I think I can just GG here, right? Because like unless I'm overlooking so one time I played this game. Actually, it was not with you guys. It was with another group of 3. So I have played it with 2 other friends, and in that game I stared at the board for like 20 minutes, and I was about to like just do something boneheaded and pass the turn and say you win, and then I found the win for me.
Right.
I was
the
like,
line of play opened up. Right, that's you have GG goggles. Like, all of a sudden it opens up and you're like, oh.
You can have the win in hand and just give up, right? Because it's like so obtuse, and again, that's why the game is a 4.63, right? Because again, declaring imperial victory costs 2. Like none of that would help. Conspiracy in Hungary. First of all, it wouldn't win, right? I wish it would, but it wouldn't, because it would be that rook and agents, pirates, and repressed rooks, knights and rooks, against all the shit that's in here, right? And even if I softened it up by a siege, it wouldn't win. Like this would need 2 tokens, and then I would also need to buy it, right?
Does the market refresh after your turn or after the action?
After the turn.
After the turn.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think if you bought like that lower card just to try to cycle in, but then again it's 3 actions,
no, it's
right?
3 actions. Right? See, if I buy Transylvanian Plot, right? If I buy it and use it, it's not going to work because a conspiracy in Hungary is not going to trigger because I don't have enough agents on my side, right? I don't have pirates. I don't have there's nothing repressed in Hungary, so triggering it right now will straight up tell you. Yes, but it's going to say was not victorious because they trade 1-1, and then as a result, there will be no regime change.
Right, the battle is not victorious.
The battle is not victorious, so there's nothing I can do with that either. The card I have in hand doesn't do anything for me, right? Because this is just that vote thing, and it's not going to change. Yeah, I don't see a way to get out of this, which I think is also just perfectly fine because it's 10:15 and I have to be on a call in 15 minutes. Because I'm
for anybody watching this video on YouTube in the future, if you see a line of play here, that's what the comments on YouTube are for.
Apostasy is not going to do anything because you are entirely secular, like both of us are. Neither of us have committed to any religion.
Yeah, we don't have any prestige.
Marriage is not going to do anything. Conspiracy, or like any form of conspiracy in Hungary is not going to work. I can't do a crusade. Like this is so unfortunate, right? Again. All I would have to do is a trade fair. Well, actually, there's not enough money for it now. But if this had one... So this is how close this game usually is. If Timbuktu had an Islam rook on it, then I could buy Crusade, run a crusade against it. It would for sure succeed. And then the Aragon Republic would go to me.
Yes, right? You would have it.
And maybe it would even flip back to a kingdom. I'm not sure about that. Like, because again, I've never seen, these are board states I haven't seen.
Right.
But
Long story short, it would take my win con
I
offline,
would take
right?
your
That
win
would be
con,
the
yeah.
one.
And it wouldn't, but yeah, none of this works. Nothing I have in hand works. So as a result, I'm just going to do some boneheaded stuff. Do a trade fair east. Does absolutely nothing. And I mean, again, 11, 11, and no way to turn it around, right? Which is amazing. Right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is just straight up like nuke my own dudes. Like, let's nuke this. And then nuke something in Mamluk. I guess this. And then can I campaign from any place in there? Not really, right? There's just straight up not enough stuff to do. So I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna do done. This is fine. GG. Well done. Well played. Because yeah, I've never managed to pull that off. But now that was actually eye-opening, right? To know that there are 3 regions that when you force a regime change, you get a law icon, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this, Ozzy, but this is the first time I've lost this game.
Well, and I think this might be the first time that we've played one of these on stream and I've actually won. So it's like just a celestial event has occurred here. But yeah, the entire time that we were playing the previous game, like I never paid attention to that at all.
Right. Well,
but I did note that was like, where are all the law cards at?
It was
like,
also
man, how are you gonna
async.
do
It was
this?
that playing this game, like your first game of this playing it async is a stretch, right? Like
Yeah.
we immediately were like, oh, it's in beta on BGA. Let's play it async.
Let's give it a shot.
Right? Like Brian was actually like, oh, we should. Yeah, this game's amazing. I've played it. We should play it. And I'm like, awesome, finally, right? Because my New Year's resolution was get my unplayed owned games I want to play to under 100. So anytime someone's like, let's play a game you own, and I'm like, yes, please, especially if I haven't played it yet, because I'm at 141 right now. I started at 152, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself. So I did get it all the way down to 138, but now it's back at 141 because I just got Zuvadis, and I'm like, okay. I feel like getting down to 100 by December is going to be a tall order. But anyway, this ticked it down again, right? So, and this was one of the like highest rated games, not by geek rating, but by average rating. This was one of the highest rated games in my collection because it has like an 8.6 or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, rating. Just undeniably a fantastic game, right?
This is a fantastic game.
And like we were talking about, but for me, I think this versus Premiere. I mean, the one thing I will say about this is that this does make me appreciate certain. I have a different context for like wrangling with the design decisions in Premiere, seeing how they bounce off of this. I'd be curious if we go to Porfiriana, like all these games in this family, how these mechanics evolve, right? We talked about that before with like when we played Nevsky, and I was like, man, I want to get to like Inferno. I want to see some of the other stuff later.
The next one they're putting out on Rally the Troops is Plantagenet, right, which is the 4th in the series. So they're not. Yeah. I don't think they're putting out either. What are they? Inferno and what's the other one? Blanking on it right now. Almoravid.
Almoravid. Yep.
Right. So I've played none of those. Right. I've not played any of the other 3. Last fall, my friend John and I were supposed to go to SD HistCon, but I got sick. So 2 days before he was going to fly over from New York and us go down to San Diego for that, I got sick. So we're planning on doing it this fall. Because all the reports of SD HistCon were amazing, right? Like like Cole was there demoing ARCs and a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, man, so bummed out I didn't make it. Anyway, no, I think this game, and we didn't even get to Pirates, right? We didn't get to Pirates. Right. I never mentioned your Tableau is unlimited. There's no upper limit to how many cards you can have in your Tableau in this game. Unlike PAX Premier, where there is an upper limit, and you can up the limit by having specific types of icons, right? But here the hand limit is 2, unless you have a card in the Tableau that says you have no hand limit. But you can have any number of cards. Another thing we never saw is if you actually successfully campaign, then the king you get is a vassal, right? So they will not go to the right, they will go underneath the other king. And that has implications for, I think, marriages and other things, right? So that's my you have a meeting in 10 minutes reminder. That
Oh,
just
yep.
popped up. But yeah, I mean, in terms of debrief, I would just say again, I've played this game so many times now that like even losing it is like exhilarating because now I know that I needed to form. Like when I saw that you had that you were like going for two law, I
Right.
immediately needed to figure out how to form republics. Because if I don't counter that, like this is like again, I don't want to compare this to something like Seven Wonders Duel or any of the like States of Siege games, but like you're under constant attack sort of come from multiple win conditions. And
Yes.
if you let any of them slide, this is what happens, right? I'm like I literally have 11. I'm rich as hell and I have no way to prevent you from the Renaissance victory like
Right.
at all.
I
Right?
mean, yeah, I think the only you buying the comet turn or you buying the comet card the turn before me would have been one
I
way to
needed
lock
to do
that.
that. I needed to do
That was
that.
the one possibility to lock that out. But that was we also learned on the voting because we were sort of hinging on the idea that I wouldn't be able. It was like going to have to be a weird decision to vote or do that, and then we ended up doing both.
Well,
Right? I was
also the
able to
fact
pull
that
them
I
off on the
never
same.
put out Michelangelo, right? Like that would have
Yeah.
straight up made it impossible for you to flip Aragon.
Yes,
Like
and that
that's
would
what.
that would have
So
yes.
there's some like massive mistakes on my end here, right? Which again, you just do them because also, I mean, if you've ever seen me play a game and you've played multiple games with me, Ozzy, right?
Yep.
I play pretty fast and loose.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we are doing this
yeah,
as a teach on stream. We are
yeah,
explaining
yeah.
as we play. Like you kind of gave me the line of play to take
Right.
for this
I mean,
anyway.
this is
So
what happened when so at the last like in-person little like weekend thing I had at my place a couple months ago, a friend of mine, Jeff, and I played Jeff, who is the number one. Jeff is, by the way, rules attorney on the Discord, who's the person who like writes these very long travel logs of being amazing at slice and dice. So that guy was here. We spent all Sunday learning and playing Lisboa, like a heavy Lacerda, which I think is
oh wow,
not as heavy as people say it is. It's beautiful. It's a genius game. Such a brilliant game. And he won. And at the end of the game, he's like, I only won because you basically painted the path, right? You're like, I think if you play this line, then you're gonna win the game, right? And he
right,
did, and he won the game, right? But like, I have no issue with that because I want to see more. Everyone who ever plays games with me knows that I want. Sure, I also play like pretty ferocious and mean games where you kind of have to like they use deception, but usually when the game doesn't have that, obviously I'm more interested in like finding all the nooks and crannies, like all the
right.
little niche cases and learning a new thing about it so that the next time when we do play a silent game where it's about like, oh, okay, we're both equal at this. But I rarely play these games to win. Like when I win them, I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? Winning this game feels amazing, I think,
Right.
right? Because it feels like you really had to work for it. Like,
I mean, with everything that's in play and like all the different angles of that you have to defend, like yeah, no,
yeah.
it feels like a try. I could absolutely see it
So
feeling like a
that's the
triumph
point, right? So
anyway.
that's the point so there's a video on Homo Ludens, right, on the YouTube channel for board games and history or historical
Yep.
board games and conflict games, and they have like a Dan Thoreau, and then it's Fred Serval, and I'm blanking on the third guy's name, but he's like Fred's developer who
Yep.
also works for GMT.
Yeah, I'm
Also,
blanking on his
also
on
working
his
on a
name.
game of his own, which I think is a coin game called that's like plays in like feudal Japan, which I think is coming out in like a year or two. Anyway, those guys play a three-player game of this, and Dan has a degree in some medieval history or maybe even Renaissance history. Joe Dewhurst, there we go. Hey, Brian. Nice. Brian comes in at the tail end of this.
Oh, it's
So
the Pure Land. I
yeah,
didn't
the
realize
Pure
that.
Land.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the Pure Land
the Pure
off of
Land is Joe
oh
Dewhurst's game. So the three of them play it, and Dan Thoreau's Space Biff is giving all these explanations of the history and says stuff like, "It's amazing how you can get like an experience that like plays in the same era of Here I Stand in like a fraction of the time of Here I Stand," which of course is a very
yes,
Here I Stand is a straight up, I guess, sort of a dudes on the map game, right? But like it's very political, and it's a much bigger like Twilight Imperium style length of an experience. But I've never heard anyone who's played that say anything other than that was amazing, right? Like I've
right.
never heard anyone say, "Oh, Here I Stand, not sure," right? And I think the reprint just shipped. I just got charged for it. So I'm pretty excited to play that game eventually, because
Right.
so I've even there's one, I forget their name, but there's a YouTube channel, board game YouTube channel with two dudes from Latvia, and they mostly play like like Heat and maybe Nemesis and like all kinds of board games. And then when they did their top 10, they're like, oh yeah, Heat here, Nemesis here, here's this other game, and then the one guy's top game was Here I Stand. Like it was just like a list of like much more digestible games, and then number one, Here I Stand. I was like, what? So I'm very excited to get Here I Stand and play it, because again, it plays. This is the scenario for Here I Stand, but as a bigger experience. But this is heavy and deep and not long, right? Yes, you can probably ponder over board states here for hours and make it take 8 hours, but we just like this is the second time you're playing this game, right?
Right.
And
In motion, in play. Was this 5 turns? I don't even know. It was quick.
Unfortunately, I don't know, because there's no like turn counter.
There's
But
no
yeah,
turn tracker.
it wasn't like what? Yeah, maybe 6, 7 at most. It wasn't that many turns, right? Yeah, this game
it was
goes
very punchy.
This game goes pretty fast. I don't know what BGG says about playtime, but like it can't be. It just can't be nuts, right? Because it's like I didn't actually want to look up 1849. Pax Renaissance second edition. What do they say? 1 to 2 hours, right? The estimated play time is 1 to 2 hours. And yeah, I mean, a 2-player game of this, how long did it take? It's 10. I gotta get on a call in 3 minutes. But we ended at 10:15, and we probably started around 9, right? Because I started the stream at 8:30. I mean, it did die very fast in Spelunky. But then we chatted for a while. So I mean, probably core playtime was like maybe an hour 15, if that, right?
Yeah.
Like it would also say here, right? Like game results, 83 minutes. There you go, right? A little bit more than an hour 15, right?
Yeah,
oh, you just that I can answer that question. Go to a website from a dude who wrote God, what's his name? He does a lot of like historical board game written reviews, but he's also a historian who wrote a book about crossbows.
Okay.
And if you look up like some medieval book on crossbows, that author has a blog, and he wrote about Tanto Monta and said it's an absolute disaster.
Okay, that's what I was, and so yeah, I wasn't gonna raise it here because I was like, I didn't know if you or if Brian
I've never
knew,
played it because I've never.
You
played
mentioned Here I Stand,
but Tanto Monta is like the
Stand.
spiritual successor, I guess, and this person who loves Here I Stand says it's nothing like Here I Stand.
Well, on the box it says like, and this is sort of it made me raise my eyebrow a little bit, because on the box it says like, was it like 90% of the Here I Stand rules are here, which sort of as a marketing point is like, then why wouldn't I play Here I Stand, or what did you do to mess this up?
Everyone says that it's much better production, like much more like beautiful map and all that stuff. Has an 8.0 from 157 people, so I don't know, right? But I haven't heard exclusively good things. Is all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Anyway,
Tangent.
I really have to sign off. It's 10:28.
Yeah, we got to call
it. Are going to lose their mind. I'm gonna I'll definitely do the quick edit, cut it front to back, add a title card. Put it up on YouTube today or tomorrow, and then I'll post the link in. Brian says they don't cover the same periods of history.
Right.
Yeah. No, I didn't think that's. I think it's a later part, like the latter, like a later part, right? But I heard that just from a play perspective. Anyway, that review is interesting, but I don't remember.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? This is not true. I know I only have 1 minute left, but I do know for a fact that I have a browser tab open somewhere where I think I have that person's review of Almoravid. Yeah, so I can tell you who it is. Stuart Ellis Gorman. StuartEllisGorman.com, right?
Okay.
So if you go to that, that's where you're going to find a review, a scathing review.
Author of the Medieval Crossbow, a weapon fit to kill a king. Okay, and then so here's the review. Okay, I will check that out. I will do that as my side quest. Right. I know you've got to wrap this.
I got to wrap.
Andy, thank you for the teach.
Thank you for playing. And Brian's like, my game du jour is Harmonies. Is that already out? I know it's on the hotness on BGG, but I haven't actually followed it yet. Anyway, I got to run. It's 10:30.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Thanks
Thanks.
everyone
Bye.
for watching. Take care. Take care, Steve. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm gonna hang up.